Hello, everyone. Welcome to Clarity 16.0.2 Supportability and Feature Training. My name is Dave Sprague, and in this section, we will review the updates to Clarity Connections, which is the out-of-the-box configurable solution to integrate Clarity and Rally. As a reminder, the goal of this solution is to tie Clarity and Rally together. You can start with Clarity Business Outcomes, import them into a Clarity roadmap. The integration can use these business outcomes from an approved roadmap scenario to create portfolio items in Rally. The integration can also use portfolio items in Rally to create business outcomes in Clarity. That was a new capability that was introduced in the previous 16.0.1 release. Then with both initial estimates as well as delivery status, Rally can send that information back to Clarity for review or monitoring. The integration allows you to tie business decisions and their prioritization with delivery or execution information. This is how we visualize the relationship between these two solutions. We're going to continue to evolve this over time as people tell us what other information they'd like to see go through this round trip. So what's new? First off, we have something we refer to as an investment hierarchy module. So for a selected investment, whether it's a project idea or a flavor of a custom investment, the hierarchy module provides visibility of metrics associated with multiple child investments without having to navigate to the underlying details. There is a new global right, which is now available, which controls user access to view the list of child's investments. Individual user investment rights control the ability to edit child investments. The hierarchy module is configured by a blueprint, and then child investments are displayed based upon the parent attribute configuration. Next, Clarity has the added capability to sync a Clarity resource, such as a manager and the field values, with Rally's owner field values. Thirdly, we have a new capability that during the sync process, that job will automatically associate integration mapping values configured on parent portfolio items, such as an epic, with all child portfolio items, such as an initiative. So it really streamlines the use of Rally and the integration mapping configuration step. The synchronized mapped information job in Clarity includes an additional parameter to sync children of a parent. Next, we've updated the lookup capabilities. So now Clarity has full capability to map and sync Clarity's single value lookups and their values to Rally's custom lookup values using the Clarity to Rally, Rally to Clarity, or both sync directions. So in this release, 16.02, the Rally to Clarity and both directions are now supported. In the 16.0 release, we first introduced this capability, but it was the Clarity to Rally sync direction that was initially supported. And then in general, the advanced lookup mapping capability is used to map stock and custom Clarity and Rally lookup values. There's been an update to the sync job in terms of the last update in status messaging. So for each Clarity investment with a defined integration mappings, end users have on-screen information indicating when the last sync from Rally occurred and if the sync was successful or not. And then the last thing, a full sync job option now is available that processes all records for data comparison regardless of the last update. The existing and still the default incremental sync job option processes all records for data comparisons having been updated in the last 24 hours. So why is this important? So first with the investment hierarchy module. So in the context of the Clarity and Rally integration, that Clarity business user has immediate visibility of delivery or execution status for the investments they are responsible for without having to navigate to Rally to retrieve the information. In regards to syncing the the Clarity resource with a Rally owner, now we've got added capability to ensure that Clarity and Rally ownership is in sync. The integration detects where ownership changes occur, whether it be in Rally or Clarity, and ensures the system will always reflect current Clarity and Rally ownership. The third item really is there to streamline the Rally and Clarity configuration steps. The Rally user is not required to configure the integration mapping value on all child portfolio items that are to be synced with Clarity. The Rally user is only required to configure the integration mapping value on a parent, such as an epic, and then all mapped children portfolio items, such as initiative, will be automatically included in the sync process. Moving on, the Clarity Advanced Lookup Mapping capability provides flexibility to control synchronization, but by configuring how Rally custom lookup values align with Clarity's lookup values. With regard to the information, the last update and status, end users have complete visibility as to when the Clarity investment was last updated by Rally. And then the full and incremental sync job is important because the administrator can be ensured that Rally and Clarity have the same data based upon defined mappings, regardless of the last time the sync job was run. So if a situation occurs where Rally and Clarity data are out of sync, the administrator can run the full sync and get mapped objects and field information back in sync without concern for when the last update occurred, or if there were errors associated with the prior sync job. So what's changed? So here's an example of the new investment hierarchy module. You can see it just positioned. This is an example of a custom investment type, and the hierarchy is configured via blueprint as a module. For a selected parent investment, users have visibility into the aggregated metrics across multiple investments. So in this case, multiple child investments without having to navigate to the underlying details. The hierarchy module can include line items from projects, ideas, and custom investments. It's not limited to the type of investment that it is configured on. You can see here also that there are the stock per period metrics or TSVs for actuals. You can see total usage, allocation, and hard allocation have been migrated to the investment level and therefore are available to the hierarchy module. And we also support, well, the hierarchy module will also support custom per period metrics in the module. In the context of the Clarity and Rally integration, the Clarity business user has immediate visibility of delivery or execution status for the investment they are responsible for, all the investments for which they are responsible for, without having to drill into Rally to retrieve the information. You can see here, it is positioned as a module in the upper navigation area. Going from left to right, it includes a navigation link to dive into that child investment and back. Another new capability that we'll cover in a moment is the manager field can be synced with Rally's owner field. The business risk in this example represents a custom lookup. In the Clarity situation, it's a lookup, but in the context of Rally, it is in fact a custom lookup. And so the values between the two are synchronized. You can see here there's an indication of the when Rally successfully last updated these investments. You can see the status, success or failure if there were, and then there's a date and timestamp associated with um, the user that ran the synchronization job. And on the far right is just an example of the parent field being configured in this grid, which justifies why it is being presented here as um, part of the hierarchy module. As mentioned, the with all investment modules, the hierarchy module is no different, and it is configured via Blueprint. And it is available to be part of projects, ideas, and or custom investments. The blueprint and corresponding business rule configuration are the tools that control access to the hierarchy module itself. Then a new global access right is available, which controls if the user can actually view the listing of child investments. So speaking of new access rights, there is one to support the hierarchy module, and it controls if users can view the list of child investments associated with the investment in view that are leveraging that parent attribute relationship. The access right is not responsible for hiding or showing the hierarchy module. That's controlled by the blueprint and business rule configuration. Those are the tools that will control access to the module itself. So you can see here the name investment dash hierarchy dash view dash all is the new access right. And there's a description that gives you a clue of what it's all about. Now this right is different, separate, and independent from the hierarchy workspace area. This is solely controlling visibility to information that's presented in the investment hierarchy module. Okay, let's talk about synchronizing Rally's owner field with that of a Clarity resource field. So the integration supports that now using a specific Clarity lookup. So for example, Clarity's manager field, it actually underneath the hood in Studio has been configured to use this particular lookup, browse underscore project manager underscore name underscore only. And then once with that in place, when you map those two fields together, Clarity and Rally's sync process assumes the matching email address. That's a very important thing to consider. Now the systems will use the unique identifier from a resource perspective. It'll match on email address, and once it receives that matching email address, that's when the systems can keep their lookup and ownership in sync. So for example, Rally has a display name for this individual called Coop, which actually is and displayed as Cooper, Andy Cooper in Clarity, but they have matching email addresses. And so when the sync occurs, whether it's either direction, depending on where ownership changes, the two systems will remain in sync. Let's talk about how the system now, the integration, and particularly the sync job, streamlines Rally and Clary configuration steps. So the Rally user, so on the right-hand side, the Rally user is not required to configure the integration mapping value on everything that needs to be synchronized with Clarity. All you have to do is place the integration mapping value at the node, for example. Here we have examples of themes. So we've put the integration mapping on the themes being connect to Rally. And when the sync job runs and you use the new additional parameter that says sync children of parent, all of the epics will pick up and use the connect to Rally integration mapping. So of course, your integration mapping has to have all the appropriate fields that you would expect for portfolio items being a theme or an epic, and that'll work just perfectly. After the sync job, it's not going to populate blank values. So you can see there's a number of epics in this example that have blank values. It's not going to populate those. And if there's already an integration mapping there identified for a child, it will not override that or change it. It won't update it. So the system just kind of logically assumes the relationships and doesn't make any data changes as a function of the sync job. Custom lookups. So in the last release, with respect to Rally custom lookups and Clarity single value lookups, we only supported one way, from Clarity to Rally. So you could push information directly to Rally. Great, but we were missing both the other direction of coming back from Rally. So in this release, we now support, as far as custom lookups, we have bidirectional sync and those values can be aligned. Of course, there's behind the scenes, there is a lookup mapping utility that maps high, medium, and low in the case of Clarity to very high, high, and medium, low, and Rally. So there's a way to map those values so that they mean something meaningful. And this is it, the behind the scenes, the lookup mapping, where you actually control which way is it going? Is it going from Clarity to Rally or Rally to Clarity? And if you're using the Clarity to Rally mapping technique, the Clarity lookup values are read-only, and then you align the Rally items, and vice versa from Rally to Clarity. The Rally items are read-only, and the user simply keys in the appropriate Clarity values. So you can see in this example, Rally had 4 values and Clarity had 3 values. So there's a way to map them and reconcile which settings should be appropriate depending on which way the synchronization or the updates are coming. Last update and status. So here you can see there's some new attributes that are part of the integration in terms of last sync status, which would be a successful failure, and they're color mapped. In the prior release, they were not color mapped. Actually, I take that back. They weren't available in the prior release. And then there's a message that tells you it was updated on a certain date and time. So these are for end users, right? This is the end user to give them some comfort of when the last sync coming from Rally. This is not going to be updated for things that move from Clarity to Rally. This is limited to and specifically designed to inform the user when the last update came from Rally. Date and time indicate when the record was updated from Rally. This is not when the sync job started or when the sync job completed. This is what time and date did the record get updated. There might be many records involved in a given sync process or sync execution, and so this tells you specifically when the record itself was updated. And as I mentioned, date and time is based on the Rally to Clarity sync direction only. The timestamp does only display in a 24-hour format, and it uses the Clarity's user's time zone who initiated or scheduled the sync. And it will use abbreviations depending on your geography. That last sync message is a string field due to the date and time being displayed in a single field. And the last sync status values are, like I mentioned, successful and failed. And they are seeded and color mapped as read-only fields out of the box. There's also as part of the synchronization job, there is now a full sync job option available to process all records for data comparison regardless of the last update. So in some cases, if there was an error associated with the prior sync, or there was just some concern for when the last update occurred, the administrator can run the full sync and get all mapped objects and fields back into sync. The default will remain incremental, and that job is a little bit different. It processes data comparisons that have been updated in the last 24 hours. So uncheck the full load, you uncheck the full load parameter, and that'll basically run the default. So unchecked is the default, and it's an incremental job run. Another piece that was updated is the ability for multi-value lookup sync from Rally into Clarity or vice versa. So if you think of the Clarity Rally situation, those are kept in sync, such as Rally's milestone field, that is a multi-select. Here's an example of a field called access, kind of read only, read write, etc. Multiple values. Clarity and Rally keep those in sync. And then there's an extra step from the underlying investment in Clarity to the roadmap. So now you've got multi-value sync from Clarity to its roadmaps, as well as single value that was introduced in the last release. An additional attribute that is can be mapped this release is newly supported. It's the formatted ID. So you would grab the Rally formatted ID and choose create a custom field on the Clarity side. And the definition of a formatted ID in terms of Rally is like an epic, an initiative, or a feature. They all have a unique ID, just like Clarity has unique IDs for its items. But this is a way to bring that information and populate it as read-only in Rally. The last piece here is an update here with respect to Clarity users accessing Rally when it is configured as a channel, and particularly in SSO environments as well as non-SSO. But the SSO environment is obviously technically challenging, and so that is supported now. Just set up Rally as a channel, and in the context of the SSO configuration, after the user clicks on the module, such as Rally in this example, right there in Clarity, a message is displayed indicating that the authentication process is underway. A pop-up is displayed prompting the user to perform their SSO authentication. In other words, input their credentials. And then after successfully logging in, that authentication pop-up closes, and then Rally is accessed in the context of the Clarity investment. There's no separate browser window that is opened. So it behaves just like all other channels that we would have, you would have configured for your users. Okay, so let's get into the demonstration. We'll cover this in a couple of sections. So we'll start with the investment hierarchy module. We'll walk through permissioning and use of that. And then we'll map and sync as part of the sync process. We'll look at mapping the manager, Clarity's manager field with the Rally owner field. We'll look at some single value lookups mapped to a Rally custom lookup, and we'll of course leverage the new direction that we're supporting, the Rally to Clarity sync direction. Part of this whole process will use the full sync job. You will witness the last update in sync status message, and then we'll conclude with how we streamline the integration mapping definition configuration, if you will, for the Rally user in the Rally portfolio item hierarchy and sync that back with Clarity. Okay, so let's exit the PowerPoint. Okay, here we go. We're going to start with the hierarchy, investment hierarchy module. You can see I'm looking at a list of custom investment types here. I'm going to go into the product lines, and retail banking is my choice. You can see I've got multiple modules configured across the top, as you would expect, and I'm going to touch the hierarchy module. Now, first thing you'll notice is that this is blank. Well, what happened? So I'm going to show you how to do the new permission. I've actually got the permission associated with this, this group here. So I'm going to add Ian, whoops, back into group. And of course, I need to log out to make this permission take place. And we'll go straight back to our business, retail banking and hierarchy module. As you can see, it is there in all its glory. Let me first, then before we go any further in this, I'm going to go into blueprints. I'm going to go into administration, blueprints. I have a filter here on my product line blueprints, and I'll just edit. And so bring up the modules here. And you can see hierarchy is positioned. It's just one of the items that are now available for custom investments, ideas, and projects. And they will then present the all items that leverage the parent attribute. So I'm going to exit since we've already done all that work, and I'm going to go back to products. So products is where I configured the parent attribute here, right? This allows me to pick a parent. This just so happens to be, you know, these are all the same investment type, but in fact, the children that are shown in this module can come or be derived from any investment type. So let's go back to our product line, go into retail banking, and I'll pick the hierarchy module. Again, I'm showing here in allocations and actuals view. I've got a number of metrics that are positioned here, some partner funds, actual hours, you know, kind of top investments from an allocation perspective. You can see I've got my allocation, hard allocation, and actuals that represent the aggregated labor allocation and usage metrics. I'm going to go into view options and show you the metrics that are available to the hierarchy module. You'll see these aggregated labor allocation and usage metrics, along with there's a custom tool, a custom metric here, custom TSP, I should say. So I'll add that. And I'll go ahead and close that and go into the column panel. And now this is a new kind of behavior. It's a little bit different from the other modules that have that are kind of grids. Normally this caret would be here for associated objects, meaning that I would have my common investment listing, perhaps projects, you know, other types of custom investments that are here. But this particular hierarchy module in this release is limited to the custom investment, those things that are common across, you know, that are from the investment, the abstract investment object, in addition to totals. So I'll grab the partner co-funding metric there. We do plan on adding the financial attributes from the financials abstract object in the next release, as we're targeting to include those, but it'll still be a common investment listing. So you can see here totals. I just got that TSV in here, a custom TSV, along with some of the other metrics. Now, as I mentioned, this grid is editable for those elements to the left of the grid. I'll go ahead and add architectural fit. Let me find that guy, bring it in. So this is an editable area here. You know, to the extent that I have other editable investment rights, I can edit other details here. The aggregated labor allocation and usage metrics are read-only. The totals, the per period metrics, those are all totals. Sorry, those are all read-only values that are derived from the underlying investments. So when the values change in the underlying investments, that's when these update after the updated investment allocation and usage job is run. I can, however, edit the custom TSVs, right? So I can make that 2,500 and that'll peanut butter spread across the period. You can see the partner funds metric has been updated based on that last entry. All right, so this is kind of the general behavior of the hierarchy module in terms of editability, the types of metrics and that you can include at this level. So let's switch gears, and I'm going to go to, let me refresh the page here. I want to go to another view. I'm going to switch to something that gets us into the context of the Clarity and Rally integration. So I'm going to show off a few things in this next few minutes. I'm going to show off the custom lookup sync. This is right here, operational risk. That is a lookup from a Clarity perspective. And it also is a custom lookup on the Rally side. So these are all blank at the moment. You can see there's a few values, but I'm going to show off the sync coming from Rally. You can see the manager field. Those are all the same individual. I'm going to do some updates and show you that. I will show you the last sync status and message as well in just a second, and some of the data will just refresh. So what I want to do now is kind of go to, so just remember this, and I'll come back to it in just 1 second, but there's some data that we're missing from Rally, or data is missing, and we're going to obtain it from Rally. So I'm going to come over here to a view that I've set up in Rally, which is the same 5 epics, if you will, that are part of that child or that hierarchy module. You can see some execution information is here. The business risk value has been set. You can see the values. There's 4 values here. There's some ownership been established. The investment category is also here. I should probably update some of that. Let's pick these guys. Just make sure that they're synced. Let me double check something real quick. We got some investment categories there as well on the Rally side, or the Clarity side. And yeah, so those are the areas, and you can see the owner. There's different owners here than what was in Clarity. So real quick, before I run the synchronization, I'm going to come back to Clarity. We're missing percent complete. There's some operational risk values. There's some investment category values that are here. And then there's the manager value that's just 1 person at the moment. So we're going to go ahead and run the sync job. I'll go get the job. And I think, and I'm going to go Rally, pick number 2. And I'm going to do a full load because I don't remember when the last sync was. And so I'll select that. And so regardless of the last sync, this will pick up and move information back and forth. So I'm going to go ahead and hit submit. I'll go to the log area so we can monitor it. But while that's going, I'm going to go into the setup of all these fields. I'm going to go into the modern UX, administration, integrations, and I'm going to go into Rally Connections 2. First thing I want to do is go to that lookup mapping. Remember we had that custom lookup we were looking at? We were calling it in here just operational risk, but it's operational risk and business epic. So Clarity's operational risk field and Rally's business risk field. And we're highlighted here on the Rally to Clarity direction. So these are the 4 values that are available in Rally. You can see there's very high, high, and medium and low. And there's 3 values associated with this, high, medium, and low. So we're going to double up on high for very high and high. So when Rally sends over information, that's how it'll get mapped. And vice versa. This was supported in the last release going from Clarity to Rally. So this is the new piece that was introduced as far as custom lookup mapping. So you got to do that first. And then we'll go into the object mapping. And we have products, Clarity products to epics. And I don't have a lot of fields mapped, but I have name, start and finish. The manager is the key piece. That's the new one. Rally, the Clarity manager, and Rally owner. The operational risk. This is that custom lookup that is now supported going from Rally to Clarity. The investment category was already supported, and this type of information, execution data, percent complete, that was already supported as well. So with the job probably done, let's go take a look at our hierarchy and see what kind of information we have in here. And we'll stay in our connections view. And there we have it. We've got some investment category information was updated, the percent complete was populated, and the operational risk information was populated. I'll switch my view to show you the connections with the message. Here is the last sync message. It was successful. This is good. And then the time. So this was roughly a couple minutes ago. You can see the date and time of when that occurred. You'll also see that the manager field here was populated, right? Before it was all Ian, and looks like the last one was still unchanged because those were all assigned to individuals in Clarity, looks like, or in Rally. So Rachel was expected to populate here. So that must have been the fact that the email address did not map or did not sync. So let's go into the job here, and I'm going to go look at, I'll just refresh it to show that everything completed. And I've got my synced mapped information job that ran. I'm going to scroll down inside the log entries here, and I should see an entry here. Missing resources in Rally was Ian, so that couldn't update. And there was a missing resource in Clarity named Rachel with that email address. So this tells me, or tells the administrator exactly, I need to go look into those users and get their email addresses to align. So that's a very helpful piece of information that gets this up, can help the administrator go get this information. And as you can see, the operational risk value, this is a custom lookup from Rally, was synchronized to Clary. We got some execution information across those particular product areas, and the manager area was populated. Let's switch gears in this demonstration flow, and we're going to go look at how the integration mapping settings are automatically applied to children in Rally. I'm going to go to the themes. I've got a view built here for themes. So you can see here there's 5 themes. This is the highest level of the hierarchy. I'm kind of opening up the portfolio item pull down. We have 3 levels: theme, portfolio item, epic, and feature. So I'm at the theme. And you can see I have an integration mapping set right here at the highest level. So that's where I need to be, meaning that the epics that are below this, they will all pick up, if I select the right parameter, and I'll show you that in a second, they will all use the same integration mapping. Now you see it noted here a couple of times. You actually see some that have different integration mappings for these epochs, and there's actually a blank one. So the reason that the integration mapping is at this epoch is because we also want it to pick up, we also want the features to use that integration mapping. So I don't have to go put the integration mapping on the features because that's the next level in the hierarchy below the epoch. So that's how you set up, like you pick a hierarchy level and then that's all you have to do. If you want all those children to pick it up. If you want children of the epochs in this example, then you do put the integration mapping at that level, and you can leave the features blank because based on the setting, it'll pick it all up. It'll use the same integration mapping. So let's go to the next level in the hierarchy on the rally side, which are epochs. So you can see that a number of the integration mapping values are blank. Some use the one that we're going to be using, and then others still have leftover ones from another integration mapping, and that's fine. So let's go down one more level to the bottom, and we'll go to the features level. And you can see the investment integration mapping setting there is they're all blank, meaning that they all are associated with another level up in the hierarchy. So that's all good as far as we're concerned. Okay. What I want to do down here at the bottom is kind of update the owner field here and the investment category field here. So I'm going to go ahead and check all of these. I think I have a select all capability. I'm going to edit the owner field, and I want all of those to be Dina. And I'm going to pick the investment category field, and I want those all to be, we'll call this strategic. Just go strategic. And that'll update everything, right? So we've got updates there, we have execution information, and we have some investment category information filled in. Okay, so that's the view of the state of Rally in terms of how the integration mapping information is used, right? So let's go take a look at Clarity. And we'll start at the top. We'll do strategies. So you can see here, I've got a number of strategies. The integration mapping is already set there because we've had some communication going back and forth, and you can see the less successful bit of information there. So let's take a look at the next level down in terms of the rally hierarchy, and we have epochs. There's some information here, last sync, when all that was taking place. Now let's go take a look next at the technology components. These are associated with features. So you can see the manager field. It's all set to Ian. We don't have any execution information. The investment category information is missing. There was an update some time ago, but we are going to run the job again and use that new capability to automatically sync the children within the hierarchy. Okay, so next, let's run the job. So we're going to go back into our job area, and we're going to look for sync. We want this guy, and we just want Rally connections. And you can see this new attribute here, sync children of parent. So that is really dictating from a Rally perspective. All those mapped children will automatically inherit that value associated with the integration mapping value associated with the higher level item. I'm going to say full load just so we can get a full, you know, get everything synchronized. All right, so that's started. So let's go take a look at the mapping here. I'm going to go into administration, go to integrations. Here's my integration mapping. And I have 3 items here. First one was strategies to themes, Clarity strategy to themes, and they're pretty consistent as far as name, manager, start and finish, and percent complete. Then we have epics to epics, Clarity epics to Rally epics, and again, the same combinations, including percent complete and manager. And then we have technology components, Clarity technology components, synchronizing of Rally features. And we've got similar set. We've also added the investment category. You can see the managers being synced up with the owner there as well. And we do expect that execution information to come over, at least in terms of percent complete. And that's synced up with percent done by story point estimate. Okay, so let's see. We should have had enough time to make sure everything has completed, and we've done that. So let's take a look at Rally. Let's start at the bottom. We'll go to those technology components. That was missing some information. You can see Dana has now been replaced as the owner of all these features. So that came over from Rally. We got some execution information, which is great. And the investment category was also updated, at least for the technology components. The next thing I want to walk through is just the sync message, right? We meant that this information here, as far as date and timestamp, is based on when the record was updated. And of course, it was noted as successful here. So we got 1813 and some change. That's Pacific time. Let's go to the epochs. We'll go up 1, and that's 1813 in just a few seconds. Let's go up to the strategies. And we've got 1813 and a few more seconds. So I just wanted to show that it's not when the job started or finished, it's just when the records were updated. Okay, so that concludes the demo of the integration mapping automatically applied to the Rally portfolio item hierarchies. Okay, that concludes the updates to Clarity Connections, the Rally integration. I thank you for your time, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.